Hello and welcome. Today I'm making a cold processed soap. I've been making soap at home for about 18 months now, which isn't very long. So I'm sure there is absolutely loads about soap making that I still don't know. Nonetheless, I can make very successfully a wonderful soap to use in your home, washing your hands, face, body, everywhere. So I'm going to show you today what you need and what to do in order to start making your own soap as well. The first thing you're going to need is a child-free, pet-free space. We're using sodium hydroxide making soap, and it's nasty stuff, and you don't want your children and pets around when that's with you. So the things we're going to need to make our soap is a kitchen scale. Today I'm using some coconut oil and some olive oil. I'll put a recipe in the description below. We will need some water, just standard water out the tap. Now if you can make some ice cubes, they're really useful too, and we'll find out why later. Then our last main ingredient is this stuff, sodium hydroxide. It's often referred to as lye. I have no idea why it's called lye. It took me ages to find it in the beginning because I had no idea what lye was, but lye is sodium hydroxide. It's like salt. It comes in white crystals. And this is nasty stuff. You may think, I don't want horrible, nasty, toxic chemicals in my bath soap. When we've finished and you have a lovely bar of soap, it won't be horrible, nasty sodium hydroxide anymore. When you mix this with your oils, it goes through a chemical process called saponification. I do love that word. So your oil is no longer oil, and your sodium hydroxide is no longer sodium hydroxide. It changes and it all becomes soap. Safe, wonderful, and perfectly good on your body. Now, as we're using the sodium hydroxide, as I've said, nasty stuff, we want an apron in case we get any splashes. We try and avoid splashes wherever possible, but we will protect ourselves. Better safe than sorry. So I'll put the apron on, protect me from splashes with my pretty robins. We're also going to want some plastic gloves. Your dishwashing gloves are absolutely fine, but we're going to need some gloves to wear when we're handling the sodium hydroxide. When we're working with the lye, we're going to need some sort of face covering as well. Doesn't have to be a fancy mask like this from B&Q. We're going to need just a cloth. We're all used to masks nowadays, unfortunately. A scarf or a bandana or something just to protect your breathing, because when we mix it with the water, which we will, it gives off a chemically gas. Doesn't smell very nice, and it's definitely not good for your lungs. Open up a window so you can ventilate the area you're working in. Even better still. So that's our apron, gloves, a mask, and some eye protection. I need glasses anyway, so these are fine for me. If you're not a normal glasses wearer, some safety goggles. Protect your eyes. You've only got one set, so look after them. And some vinegar. Now, we're not using vinegar in our recipe anywhere. The vinegar is here on hand. If we spill the sodium hydroxide or splash it on ourselves, general white vinegar will break that down into a non-corrosive, so it won't do us any harm or any damage. It neutralises it really fast. So white vinegar on hand, just in case we have a spill or a splash. It's great for wiping down all the surfaces when you've finished as well. What else do we need? Oh, we're going to need something to put our soap in when we've made it. I've got these well, I've actually got two here stuck together. I've got these silicone moulds. I think they're designed for making muffins and cakes. The great joys of the internet. So some silicone moulds with pretty flower shapes on them that I rather like. I've also got, you can get any shape you like, I've got little square soapy shaped mould as well. This actual recipe I'm going to give you today will make 8 bars of these flower shaped mould. Because our silicone moulds are all flippy floppy, I've also got myself a chopping board I'm going to use to help support my silicone mould so it stays nice and flat and stable and not all wobbly. You could use a piece of wood, a breadboard, an old roasting tin, anything, just something to stop your silicone mould wobbling around. When we've finished making our soaps, we're going to need to cover it up and keep it warm and toasty for a day. So I've also got a sheet of cardboard that I will lay on top of our mould when it's full of soap, and then I'm going to wrap that up in a nice fluffy blanket to keep our soap nice and cosy while it turns, keep our soap batter nice and cosy while it turns into soap. We need to keep it warm, but nice and cosy, and it'll create its own heat. So that's all our moulds and things. I'll put those out of the way a moment. So to mix our soap, I've got a 2 litre plastic jug, standard kitchen jug, for mixing a soap batter in. And I've also got a stick blender, an electric stick blender, which is not essential. You could stir your soap batter using a metal or plastic spoon. No wooden spoons in this, metal or plastic only. You'll be stirring for a very long time, but it does work. So if you don't have a stick blender and this is your first time having a go, do it with a spoon. You'll still get very good successful soap. I've got a second jug, exactly the same, just as a spare. So when this is all drippy and covered with soap, I can stand it in there and it doesn't drip soap all over the work surface. Just makes for convenient, tidy working. When we come to mixing our lye solution, we'll need something to mix it in, the lye and water together. I've chosen this old pot noodle pot. No noodles left, eaten them all. Oh well. I've chosen a pot noodle pot because you could use glass, so a glass jug, kitchen jug would be fine, or stainless steel is also okay. As I said, this nasty corrosive chemical. The pot noodle pot is going to be fine because I've checked its recycling mark. You get a little triangle of arrows on plastic things, and we need, inside that triangle, we need to have a 5 or a 2, and underneath the little triangle it'll either say PP or HDPE. And those are 2 forms of plastic that can basically cope with the heat, because our lye and water solution will get quite warm, so we need something that can cope with hotness and it isn't going to melt and distort. So that's why the pot noodle pot is perfect. It's designed for pouring boiling hot water into, and it's perfectly fine, so it's going to be fine for our lye solution. As I said, you could use a glass jug, or your kitchen utensil jugs will have the same recycle mark on the bottom. I expect they're fine as well. Want a stainless steel spoon for mixing that up is perfect, and a scrapey spatula of some sort is very useful for scraping out the last little scraps of batter from our soap mix. And that's all our essential soap making things. Sounds like a lot. I don't think it's too much. Surprisingly, it's not as much as it seemed on the explanations once you've gathered it together. There are a few extra things we can add in the production of our soap. None of them essential, but quite nice to have if you've got them. So I've got some isopropyl alcohol that I use for other things around the home. this is very handy when we're finishing our soap off. If we've accidentally got some bubbles in our soapy mixture, a spritz on the top with the isopropyl alcohol will pop all those last little bubbles. It also stops a thing called soda ash, which is a slight white dusty film on the surface of our soaps. So if we spray it with that before it's left to set and turn into soap, it apparently stops soda ash happening. Another little extra, I've got some scent for my soap. I'm using coconut today because I'm going to make a white soap with a coconut scent, and I'm using coconut oil as well, which will all help to that lovely coconutty smell. Don't need to add scent. This soap will just smell soapy and pleasant without any extra added smells. But if you've got some scented oil, it's a nice added extra. You could also add colour to your soap. I've got some mica powder here, so you could put some mica powder into your soap batter to change the colour that your soap's going to be. So let's get started. Let's make some soap. And the most important thing of all, of course, is our recipe. I will write the recipe for this soap in the description below, of course. So let's weigh out some ingredients. The first thing I'm going to prepare is our lye solution, and get that because it gets warm and I need it to cool down. I'll do my mask before I do my gloves. So I'm going to put my mask on. Gorgeous. Pair of gloves. Protect my hands. There we go. I'll switch my scales on while I'm getting my gloves ready. There we go. So I've got my pot noodle pot ready, and I'm going to put some earring stuck. There we go. Right, my scales are marked to 0, and I'll just open that over there because I'm dropping crumbs off the lid already. There we go. I'm going to want 2.9 ounces. The scales on ounces, not grams. I'm slowly pouring in the lye till I get 2.6. Not very interesting videoing, somebody weighing out some lye granules. 2.8, 2.9. We do want to be very accurate with this stuff. It is a chemical process. We want to get it perfect. So that's our lye done with. I hope you can hear me all right through my mask. That's our lye crystals. I want another pot. There we go, another pot at the ready. Second pot that I'm going to put my water into. I want 7.3 ounces of water. Now this is where the ice cubes come in handy. My pot of ice cubes is ready. So I'm going to use some ice cubes for about half the weight of my water. So I need 7.3 ounces of water. So I'm going to use 4 ounces of ice cubes. 3 or 4-ish. 4.4. 3.8 will do. And then I'm going to top that up to the water weight I want, the 7.3 ounces with just normal water. 5, 6, 7.2, 7.3. Now this next bit is really important. We always, always, always put our lye powder into our water. Never, ever, ever do it the other way round. Apparently it'll cause a real nasty volcano and explosion and horribleness. Just don't do it. I always double check every time I do this. I go and recheck the internet to make sure I'm putting it the right way round. So lye crystals, lye powder goes into our now icy water. So slowly and gently, we don't want any splashing going on. I'm going to pour our crystals into the icy water. Shake out every last little drop. That's that one done with. And slowly and gently stir this around till all the lye solution is melted. This will start getting, you can feel it quite hot already. This starts getting quite warm to the touch. It's looking slightly milky coloured at the moment. What I'm actually going to do is bring back that pot I had my lye solution in. My ice cubes have all dissolved and melted in the heat. I've just got a smooth runny liquid to drip off my spoon and put it in my other container for a moment. Oh, very, very toasty. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go leave this to cool. We need it to cool down, sort of body temperature really. So it shouldn't feel hot, shouldn't feel cold, it just is. It could be an hour or so. So I'll be back with you when our lye solution is nice and cool. I'll put this away before I start taking off my stuff. I'm going to put this safe to cool off. Oh, and I'll put this with it because I might want my spoon to stir it in a moment when it's done. Right, that's our lye put away nicely. See you back here in a moment when our lye solution has cooled down. As I say, might be another hour or so. See you in a minute. Hello and welcome back. It's been about 2 hours since I put our lye water aside to cool. It possibly didn't take quite that long, but life gets busy. So here's our lye water. I won't tip it to show you. I'm all aproned and gloved up. Have my glasses at the ready. I'm not wearing my face mask now. I find now the lye water's cooled down to handling room temperature, it's not giving off the same gassy fumes as it was before. I choose not to need my mask. I don't know what other soapy websites might say. Maybe you're advised perhaps you should. That's a choice for you to make. As well as my lye water, which is now water. Can't show you. It's just clear, watery liquid. I've prepared some coconut oil. I've got 7 ounces of coconut oil. Now coconut oil comes as a hard, lumpy, fatty oil. So I've scooped out my 7 ounces into my mixing jug and I warmed that in my microwave. So it's now a liquidy, like water, runny liquid itself. So to that, I'll take my spoon out. I'm not sure where I'm going to put that. I'll put that over here. I'm done with that one. There we go, spoon gone. So to my 7 ounces of coconut oil, I'm going to add 13 ounces of olive oil. Now I've gone for a light coloured olive oil. You don't want the nice rich dark green heavily scented oil you would use when you're making your salad dressings. Just a nice light pale olive oil is absolutely perfect. And we're going to need 13 ounces of that, which I'm going to add which won't be enough in this bottle. Making a few bubbles here. I'm pouring it down the side of my mixing container to try and limit the amount of bubbles we make, because we don't want our soapy batter bubbly if we can at all avoid it. So that's that one empty. Next bottle. So up to 8, we want 13. I'm going to have to stand that up so I can see the scales. 12, right, slow down now, 12.7. Oh, 13, that was 4. Perfect. So I'll put that oil out of the way, done with that. Right, now, gloves. I'll move my scales out of the way, don't need them. Done with the scales, because we weighed our lye and water solution earlier on. I finished my recipe, I don't need that either. Clear my workspace, so I've just got the things that I'm going to need. My melted oils, my lye water solution, spare pot to stick my lye spoon in. I've also got, as I said earlier, a spare jug that I'm going to put my stick blender into when I'm not mixing. All the clutter out of the way. I'm also, before I start to put things into, I'm going to get our soap moulds ready on their tray. Put that on there. So glasses down. Lye water solution and the spoon to give it a stir. Just gently, make sure it's all properly mixed. No undissolved crystals kicking around in it. And then I'm very slowly over the, I don't know if I want it over the back of, yes, over the back of my spoon, because it will stop a big splash. Pour that into my melted oils. All of it. Slowly, gently pouring it into the oils. Shake off our last few drips. And I'm done with that. Can rinse that out with a bit of that white vinegar. Put some vinegar in, slosh it around, and you can pour it down the sink then, it's absolutely fine. But you do need that vinegar just to neutralise it. And in with a stick blender. Now they do a thing they call burping, which means when you've put your stick blender in, you need to tip it slightly and just give it a gentle moving around to make sure you've got no air stuck under that mixing dome. We don't want to be getting air in our soap. We're not trying to make foam. Just stir it around a little bit with the stick blender for a second, and then short blasts. This will thicken. Sorry about the horrible noise! And then stop and stir it around. My mixture's going white. Hopefully you can see it through the see-through jug. And getting quite thick very fast today. Now we're looking for a thing they call trace, which is as we dribble the soap, I'll use my spatula, as we dribble the soap around and it's dribbling off my spatula, it'll start leaving a mark on top of the batter. At the moment this isn't, it's still too liquidy, it's all running straight back in and disappearing very fast. So I'll put that in my spare jug and another mix. Now, as you can see, this is already quite white, but I'm going to still add some white colourant, some white mica. I'm being very careful not to lift my stick blender out of the batter, because that's when I risk incorporating bubbles, and I don't want to make air bubbles in this batter. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but we'll try and avoid it. That's where our isopropyl alcohol comes in. If we get some bubbles, we can sprit the top and they'll all pop. Now this is just perfect. It's a thick custardy liquid. So I'm going to scrape off my, scrape, rescue all that lovely soap we want to keep. And carefully whiz around the inside of there. Don't want to cut my spatula. There we go. Now, as I said, I've been making soap for a while, so I'm going to just pour out one set of batter as plain ordinary soap for you to see what's going on, and I'm going to use the other half of my mixture to make a bit of a fancy soap. So I'm going to pour this into 2 separate jugs. This bit you don't need to do with your very first soap. I wouldn't suggest you even try. This is ready now. You could pour this straight into your soap moulds, ready to make soap. Now, one more than the other. There we go. And separate them off. So I now have 2 jugs of batter that you don't need to do. You can stay with your one mix, making your one sort of soap is fine. So assuming you have your one mix and your one sort of soap, I'm going to put a little bit of smell into this. I've got a coconut scent. We are 100% pure fragrance oil, coconut. So I'm going to put some of that. Now, sometimes this can make it thick and gloppy. It depends on your scent, how it reacts with the soap. 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've got about 20 drops of that going in there. How are we smelling? Nice. So I'm going to pour one soap with no any extra anything. So when they come out tomorrow, you can see how that looks. I'll put it in this one up the end because my flowers are different shapes. I should be able to make 4 of these flowery soaps. My whole recipe makes 8, so half of it should make us 4. Now with the rest of it, I'm going to add some white. I have some white mica that I mixed with a little bit of oil just to get it runny, and I'm going to add that to our soapy batter now. Just going to give that a very quick whiz to mix that in really well. No bubbles again. Shake it around, shake all the bubbles out. And we'll see what difference that's going to make to our finished soaps by adding some white colour, because it's quite a whitish coloured soap anyway. People, see around the edge of my blender? There we go. Oh, tripped it on a worktop. So now our white scented coconut batter, I'm going to pour into the moulds. Now sometimes when you add a scent, it depends what scent you're adding. Your batter can react and go very thick and gloppy. Don't panic, it's okay, it still makes lovely soap. Scoop it out and glop it into your containers anyway. It'll all set to beautiful soap just the same. Woo, got a little bit too much. Well, not really, it just means I could make an extra bar. I'm going to keep that and add it to the batter I've already got. There we go. I'll keep that jug as well for a moment. So there we are. Ooh, you can't see and I can't tip it. I don't know if I can tip you. I've made 4 soapy flowers. 1, no colour. Can't remember if I added smell or not. But it's the no colour's the important bit. And then 3 others that are the solid white, or I've added white to it to make a white coconutty soap. Now with this, we want to cover it with our piece of cardboard. Cover it up. And then wrap it up in our blankets, being very careful it's still a runny batter. We wrap this up in our warm, snuggly blanket. And I've got another one for the top. Another blanket. Doggie's going to get cold tonight. I've got all our blankets. There we go. And that'll keep our soap nice and cosy until tomorrow. So 24 hours, 48 if you can be that patient. we'll unmould these soaps and see how they look. So we'll see you in 24 hours. Welcome back. We're about 2 days now since our soap's been curing. I did look at it after 24 hours. It was a little bit soft still, so decided I'd be safe and wait the extra day. So let's see how our soap's got on. Take our blankets off. These were to help keep it nice, and it creates its own heat, and the blankets keep that heat in and keeps it nice and warm while it goes through that wonderful saponification that I love so much. So our cardboard's off as well. And here's our soaps that we made in the video. Now I had half of my batter I'd separated off to make some other soaps, and the memory on my iPad's not great, so I ran out of memory storage and it cut out on me. So sadly you didn't get to see that happening. So I put some colour in the remaining batter, half pink, half green, and mixed it into these little square soaps. So we'll unmould those as well. So first of all, let's get these soaps out of these moulds. Your silicone moulds are nice and easy to remove from. If we give it a bit of a stretch the sides around your soap, just to loosen things up a little bit and make sure that they're all going to pop out nicely for us. Here goes, first one. So I'm pushing up from underneath, but we'll push through. Sometimes they're a little bit sticky, so you have to be careful. You don't want to be leaving fingerprints in your soap, but it should be nice and firm by now. Oh, I'm a little bit stuck slightly. There we go. Got it. Yay! Smells lovely. So there we go. A wonderful flowery homemade soap, coconut and olive oil. I've got myself a kitchen cooking wire rack here. Unfortunately, we can't use our soap yet. Well, you could go and use that now, wash your hands, and it would be fine. But it's still slightly soft. We need to let all of the waters that we put in our mixture evaporate off, so it'll wash away a bit quick and won't last you very long. So we want to wait. Let's get the rest of these out. About 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Leave them drying on your the rack. Soap 2. Oh, this one's coming out easier. There we go, got it. Oh, that's a different shape. Maybe that's why it came out. It's a different shaped flower from my mould. Now this one will be interesting. This is the one that was, I didn't put any white colour in. This was just plain soap. Pop. Ooh, a little bit stuck inside the mould there. Well, I did put scent in it. I couldn't remember in the video whether I'd added scent to it at that stage. There is a slight colour difference. I can bring it up close. I don't know if you can see. We're slightly more creamy ivory colour without any added colour. And I put mica powder in this batter, which has given us a whiter soap because it's white mica powder, so it's coloured it white. So this is a perfectly good soap, perfectly usable. It's just a slightly more, I don't know, yeah, a slightly creamier colour. Right, let's see what my others did that you sadly didn't get to see happening. I got my cardboard touch these as well. They were too full. I've got a mark on the top, so I'll be able to cut that off with a knife. It'll be fine. Oh, these squares are a bit more fiddly. Got it there. Oh, well, not as swirly as I thought. Sorry, I'll show you my soap. My strawberry scented in pink and green. So you can get the rest out. I don't know, it's not bad. I was hoping I'd get a better swirly effect. Oh, that's got no swirl at all. Plain green on one side, really pretty on the other. Still be very usable. Right, let's get these out. Come on. So I don't like to rush because they are still a little bit soft. Or softer than a bar of soap. Oh, that's better. Quite like that one. One other very green one. Oh, I got my back's quite pretty, but my front facings are... I'll have to practice that a bit more. Didn't work as well as I hoped. I thought we'd be more splotchy patterns on both sides of the soap. Well, that was opposite. It's pink. They do smell nice. So that was all my soap making for your first soap making tutorial. Move that out of the way. Washing up. So yes, if you'd like to leave these for 4 to 6 weeks just to dry out properly, be really in, I don't know, just in a warm dry room, as long as it's got the air moving around them, that will dry them out nicely, and you have your own beautiful homemade cold process soap. You'll never want to buy soap again. Well, that's it for today then. Have fun.